Today, we're revealing my 8 biggest regrets in Rise of Kingdoms. These are noob mistakes that I've made, and I'm sharing them with you so you don't make them too. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming. I've been playing Rise of Kingdoms for over 1,000 days, and I have made some mistakes. Today, we're going to reveal the ones that I think are my biggest regrets, the biggest noob mistakes I've made. So if you like Rise of Kingdoms guides designed to help you get value and smash your enemies, then smash that subscribe button for daily Rise of Kingdoms videos designed to help you get value, smash your enemies, and yeah, learn from these mistakes. The number one mistake, first one on the list. I've talked about a bunch. People still do this all the time. It is a noob mistake, and that is using legendary commander sculptures on gold key commanders. You've heard me say this possibly many times, although if you're in one of my videos for the first time or you're new to the game, I just want to show you the fact that after you max out a gold key commander, you'll continue to get their sculptures from the tavern, and they'll be completely wasted. So I spent a whole bunch of universal legendary commander sculptures on Double C, for whom I now have 1,100 and, of all numbers, 14 above and beyond the number I had needed to expertise him. I spent universal legendary commander sculptures on Charles Martel, for whom I now have 1,013 extra sculptures. I'm not saying you can't put a few universals into these commanders or expertise them once you get close to being able to expertise them, but it really was a huge mistake on my end to be using my universals like this. And I get that I started playing in a time when they weren't actually releasing new commanders all the time. Man, I'm like a dinosaur in this game, right? Hopefully not extinct yet, but that's awkward. All I'm saying is that if I'd spent my universals elsewhere, I'd probably have like every legendary maxed at this point instead of dumping hundreds upon hundreds into these commanders that, like, honestly, in the end game, like, yeah, I guess I use them, but I don't know. Wish they'd gone elsewhere, you know? Now, this second mistake that I made is actually kind of similar. It's still about legendary commander sculptures. My biggest regret, number 2 on the list, is investing in legendaries before we know whether or not they're going to be good or how they're going to be used. And someone in your kingdom needs to bite the bullet. Like I did this for Jadwiga, and she is really good, but the number of times I've actually used her since I maxed her is like, I can count it on one hand where it really mattered. A couple times in Ark of Osiris, and I get that she's really good in a forward garrison there, and I'll probably get more value from her there. But I maxed her at a time when, like, we were on our way out of KVK, not on our way in. So I just haven't even really used her for months after I got her, and that just seems ridiculous to me. So don't max commanders. You don't have to be the person who maxes a commander until we know how they're actually going to be used, where they'll actually be good. Let somebody else go and do that. And even as a pretty big spender, I mean, I get that I'm basically at the point where I've almost got kind of escape velocity on commanders at this point, that I can max them all as soon as they come. But if you're not in that position, I think you will almost certainly regret making that gamble on a commander that may or may not be as good as you hope they are. Now, the third regret on my list here, I've got 8. I've got some big regrets, is actually not planning my gem use better. And I'm going to go to my restart project where I really made a couple blunders here. And when I say planning your gem use, you know, look, if you're not mega spending like I do on my main account, you need to be really smart with your gems. So to that end, I went and I thought for a time that I would invest in Guan Yu. I thought for a time I was going to invest in Ramses. And for both of those projects, I changed my mind. So I spun the wheel for those commanders. I got Guan to 4, and, you know, I got some extra sculptures here. I got him to 4 on the first skill. Ramses, I mean, it's just a couple skill ups that I did on him as well. But I was spending gems on these wheels where, like, I actually decided against working on these commanders. Now, these are great commanders, and most players should probably go max them. I just decided that with this account, rather than do what is most efficient for an account to do, I actually should just do what's more entertaining and try out new commanders when they land. And worst case, it's my restart, so it's not the end of the world, you know? I can be creative and try to find ways to use them. But all that to say, I wish I had planned out my gem spending better here. And there are a number of things where you should be planning your gems. That should be Wheel of Fortune. That should be probably not Esmeralda, but every now and then she shows up. The egg event is really important. The dig event is important. There's all these events where you can spend your gems more than gems. Maybe you need Books of the Covenant. Just do your planning so that whatever the thing is, heck, even if it's VIP, you've got the gems you need when you need them, rather than being short on gems when you wish you still had them, or spending them on something that, like, you honestly don't need. Please, Esmeralda, don't suck. Please, 400 gems. I guess that's okay. My fourth biggest regret, by the way, is something that, like, everybody needs to do this, okay? Every single player needs to do this. I resisted, and that is creating a farm account. Gosh darn it, I waited hundreds of days, almost a year, past. Why am I getting all these verifications? Jeez. As I was saying, my main account, it's over 1,000 days old. My farm account, okay, I waited 200 days to make a farm account. I have farmed on this account a ridiculous amount of resources. I can show you exactly what that is now. 14 billion resource assistance on this account. I have sent 14 billion resources to my main account from this one. You may be wondering, Chisgule, how is that more than the resources you've gathered? And that is because I also spend my action points on this account. So all I'm saying is that it was a huge mistake to wait as long as I did. My farm is now up to 61 million power, which is fairly ridiculous. And that's with me spending almost all of my gems on kingdom buffs with this account. I really should have created a farm sooner. Not only is this giving me resources, but I have started to use it to send troops in to die in war, because it's like, well, I guess I could do that. Yeah, that costs me resources to do, which is kind of the opposite goal of a farm account, but at this point, I've mobilized it for war, and that is very fun for me as well. So start a farm if you haven't already. I really regret my strange resistance that I had to doing this for so long. My fifth regret in Rise of Kingdoms is spending too much time in alliances or kingdoms that are not worthy of your being there. They don't match your activity level. They don't match your commitment to the game. That is a huge waste. I did this at the start of the game when I was like under 5 million power. I corrected. I'm now in great alliances and great kingdoms, but honestly, the kingdom and alliance you're in are a huge multiplier for both your experience in the game and your account strength. And being in the wrong place, what a disaster that is. Now, to show my number 6 top regret in Rise of Kingdoms, I've actually got to go back to my main account. And this is something, it's kind of basic, and we just should have done it, but we didn't. And it's fixing small things with territory in your home kingdom. And this is more something that you should maybe bring up with your kingdom leadership, but there are some little areas where people can still teleport to in Kingdom 75, and then they go rogue or do whatever they're going to do, and it's very rare that that actually happens. The amount of time in which that is relevant is very small, where these little gaps in territory are exploited, but it happens. It's a mistake not to fix the territory in your kingdom when it doesn't matter, so that when it does matter, everything's all lined up and you don't really have to think about it. And yeah, this could take a really long time, fixing territory, kind of deleting one flag and slightly adjusting, and then deleting another and then slightly adjusting, and then a huge chain of flags might have to be changed, but I really think that that is a really good way to do one-troop flags over time, slowly fixing a territory gap here, a territory gap there, and really sealing up the majority of the territory, so nobody in your kingdom, when eventually somebody decides they're going to be difficult, or even if somebody's going to take over your kingdom, you want to have all this stuff done in advance so you don't have to think about later. Now, the number 7 mistake that I have made in the past is with kingdom versus kingdom diplomacy. And the mistake is underestimating just how hard it is to take a fight in an uneven way. In other words, these KV caves they're really designed, even the reward structures are designed to have a 4v4 or a 2v2, right? An even number of kingdoms typically battling against each other. That's how the rewards are designed typically. And when in the past I've been in kingdoms where we take fights not in an even way, it's either overstretching by way too much, or we've done a really good job evaluating, and it's actually really fun. But in my KVK Season 2, I mean, like, we took a 3v5, and I wish we'd put more into understanding the strength of the kingdoms we were taking a 3v5 against. It just didn't make any sense. It was so one-sided, it was ridiculous. You know, and we kind of wish I'd done that differently. And, you know, I did a 3v5 again in the next KVK, weirdly enough. But we ended up winning that KVK. And so, I don't know. KVK diplomacy is kind of a weird area. And I'll build off of that with my 8th regret, which is that I really regret any time I've said anything that could be construed as even slightly negative toward another kingdom. And there are some times where I really don't regret what I've said, but sometimes I'll say something off the cuff in a video without the intent to, like, insult somebody, and then, like, they take it really personally, their whole kingdom gets upset, and then, like, I've made an enemy of a kingdom, really for no upside or value. And I think one of the biggest things in this game, especially KVK, it's not a coincidence I have this up on the screen, is it is way better to make friends than enemies. And when you get into KVK, you really need to be able to rely on those friends to have your back and to cover you. I guess what I'm trying to say is that whatever it is you think you're going to gain by speaking negatively of another kingdom or some player is almost certainly not worth it. And when it comes down to it, I mean, we're going to ally with the kingdoms we like and go fight against the kingdoms where there are people we don't like. At the end of the day, that is almost certainly going to be true. As long as there's a good fight to be found, we're going to fight it. And the thing that's going to turn the tide for where we ally could just be who's been a freaking jackass to us, and we'll go fight them. So just keep in mind, I regret when I've said things that are not even all that harsh. It's just, you know, an off-the-cuff thing about migration or whatever, and then people take it the wrong way, and it's like, man, it wasn't worth it. So just be careful when you go and you talk in public forums. If you found this guide helpful with some of my biggest regrets and noob mistakes, do me a favor and throw a like on here. Consider subscribing for those daily Rise of Kingdoms videos designed to help you get value and smash your enemies. We may be on our way into a KVK very shortly. You're really not going to want to miss that. The last one was hot, baby. I'll have a card up in the top if you want to see the playlist for our KVK 7, which was Strife of the 8. I mean, it had it all. It had drama, conflict, fighting, trolls, lots of trolls. Check it out. And until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.